very warm and pleasant morning to everyone. Respected dignitaries, distinguished professors, dear fellow scholars, friends, students from the philosophy department and other departments. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to day 1 of Reboot, the World Philosophy Day celebrations organized by the Department of Philosophy, School of Humanities, Pondicherry University. Today marks the beginning of our Philosophy Week, a time to reflect, to dialogue, and to reconnect with the very spirit of philosophical inquiry that guides half of the department. I extend a heartfelt welcome to our distinguished guests, Professor K. Tanikarasu, Director of Studies, Educational Innovations and Rural Reconstructions, that is SEI and RR, honoring by Dr. S. Indira.
So let us call out first.
Okay. Professor Clement Sagaratra Lourdes, Director of Culture and Cultural Relations, that is C and CO, honoring by Dr. Jawaharlal. And Dr. G. Varshanti, Dean, School of Humanities, she will join later. And Dr. S.Lourdnathan, Professor Emeritus, Jawaharlal Nehru University, honoring by Dr. Bobby.
எடுக்கிறீங்களா ஃபோட்டோ அப்படியே வீடியோ ரெக்கார்ட்
George, come.
Lourdnathan, sir, honoring by George. We are truly honored by our gracious presence today. Your continued guidance and encouragement inspire all of us to pursue philosophical thought not merely as an academic subject, but as a living, dynamic way of engaging with the world. This year's theme, Reboot, invites us to rethink and renew, to revisit philosophical questions in the light of today's changing realities. In an age driven by technology, uncertainty, and transformation, philosophy reminds us to pause, reflect, and rediscover meaning. As we begin this celebration, let us carry forward the spirit of Socratic wonder, to question, to learn, and to seek wisdom together. Once again, I welcome you all and wish the event great success. Now, I am privileged to welcome Dr. S. Indira to give inaugural speech, whose leadership and vision guide us in every step. Thank you.
before the inaugural speech, I request all of you to raise for the university anthem.
புதுவை புதுவை புதுமையே போற்றுவோம் புதுவை பல்கலைக்கழகமே உன்னை வாழ்த்துவோம் வங்க கடலை தாளாட்டும் ஞான சூரியன் உதிக்கும் இடம்
இது எங்கள் புதுவெளி காட்டும் உலகம் எந்நாளும் அறிவு தேடல் தொடரும் அறிவுற்றை பொழியும் ஆசிரியர் அதில் தினமும் நனையும் மாணவர்கள்
இதில் அன்று புதுவை பல்கலைக்கழகம் அறிவின் தாகம் கல்வியின் சோலை அகில போற்றும் கல்வி சாலை மனித படவே என்றும் உயர புனித சேவை தொடருதே பல்கலைக்கழகம் என்றும் வளர்ந்திட நாமும் வழிபடுவோம் கல்வி சேவைகள் யாவும் காலம் தொடர்ந்திட நாடும் தேங்கிடுவோம் புதுவை புதுவை புதுமையே போற்றுவோம்
புதுவை பல்கலைக்கழகமே உன்னை வாழ்த்துவோம்
Thank you. Good morning, everybody, one and all present here. Respected Director Sir, Director Studies, Professor Taranikar Sir, respected Director Culture, Professor Clement Sir, and Dean School of Humanities, Professor Vasanthi Ma'am in her absence, and today's resource person, Professor S.Lourdnathan Sir, Professor Emeritus JNU, and my department colleagues, research scholars, project staff, and my dear students, a very heartily welcome to the week-long celebrations of the World Philosophy Day to all of you. International Philosophy Day is initiated during 2002 and the third week of November, Thursday, during 2002 by UNESCO, and each year has got its own specific theme, and its main objective is to develop human thought, creative skills, critical thinking, and igniting fire in the young minds, and it also encourages independent thought that leads to the better understanding and tolerance and also peace. And it mainly fosters in the philosophical analysis and research to encounter the contemporary challenges that have been encountered by the humanity. And for this year, current year, the theme is the moral limits of wealth and ethical principles for the alternative socio-economic future. So this is the theme given by the UNESCO for the year 2025, and we have chosen theme as the science and values, and the objective of choosing this theme is highlighting the importance of both science and values, and it is a fact that science is always bothers and in search of the truth, and it won't bothers about emotions, human emotions, and social concerns of the human beings. And but while we're coming to the values, they are the foundations for the public trust. So people trust scientists because they are committed and they bear the responsibility of the common good. And we know that the contemporary world is encountering with various challenges of the climatic change, AI, and genetic engineering, and so on. So there is a need to bridge the gulf between these two. So with that objective only, we have initiated this theme as science and values, and because without ethical reflections, scientific progress cannot flourish properly and continuously also, and that's why both of them are equally important. And celebrating this week-long events is not only just for the academic purpose, but also an universal thought that helps to analyze, question, and proper understanding the world around us also. So with this backup, I reaffirm the unity of knowledge where reason and ethics serve the purpose and they go together for the sake of the humanity and also for the betterment of humanity. So let us hope that the reflections of the resource persons and the discussions lead to more thought-provoking, and it would be very much beneficial for the students. And in this regard, I wish all the students will benefit with the inspiring events of the week-long Philosophy Day celebrations. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We are sincerely thankful to you for your inspiring address and the thoughtful insights you have shared with us today. Like without ethics, no science is possible. So, I have the honor to inviting our guest of honor, Professor K. Tanikarasu, to kindly deliver your words of wisdom. Thank you. Professor Tanikarasu sir, Professor of Chemistry at Pondicherry University, holds a PhD in Polymer Chemistry from the University of Madras and has over 28 years of teaching, research and administrative experience. His research spans polymer chemistry and medicinal chemistry. He has served in key leadership roles including Dean, Register in Charge, Controller of Examinations and Vice Chancellor in Charge at Pondicherry University. A dedicated mentor, he has guided 13 PhD scholars and published around 70 research papers. Currently, he is the Director of SEI and RR and Coordinator of IQSE at Pondicherry University. Thank you.
The respected Director, Cultural Considerations, Professor Clement, Lourdnathan, and the HOD of Department of Philosophy, Professor Indra, and the Chief Guest and the resource person today, Professor S.Lourdnathan, the Dean of Humanities, Professor Vasanthi in absentia, and all the faculty members of Department of Philosophy and other departments, and my dear students, both the research scholars and as well as the MA philosophy students. Good morning, everyone. So it is indeed great pleasure to be part of this World Philosophy Day, Philosophy Week, which is organized by Department of Philosophy to commemorate World Philosophy Day. The title also given, Reboot. And when we say reboot, so when generally we reboot, the technical term, reboot, correct? So whenever our system, computer system is not functioning well, correct? Then we reboot. So why do we reboot? So indirectly it says, so madam may be thinking that we are not getting enough students in the department. So let us crack directly. Why do we say? So philosophy was the main source of the knowledge and the wisdom. Whatever today, if we see who is running the entire world, whether it is politics or business, who is running really? business. Management people. Management people are running now. They give ideas. Wherever sick industry they go, they give ideas. Wherever they even a good working industry also, they give ideas. They rule. That's why management is very famous. People are joining there. So once it is the philosophy. Philosophy was the source of all knowledge, energy. They used to advise. Correct? So everyone, the philosophy teachers was the teacher who covered every knowledge in the science, engineering, everything. So wherever there is students also, when in fact the Greek philosophy, when they started Academy of Athens. So is it correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it was the all privileged people. They rushed to there, and then they joined there. And only one, there was no different place. And everyone, it is attended this. It is very difficult to get admission there. Because they discussed, they taught and researched from everything, even a God, soul, mind, business, everything. So that was the source that time. And even today, we are all getting the Doctor of Philosophy. Correct? Because it is the I think since you are a philosophy student, you must be knowing already. The philosophy who gives also who has the wisdom, who gives the knowledge to other disciplines, and then they take the knowledge into different things, and then even the job, everything now is going on, and students now they want job directly, correct? And they don't want any wisdom. They want knowledge only. With this, they want job and then settle. But still, philosophy. Without philosophy, there is no knowledge. Without wisdom, there is no knowledge. Correct? So your role is very important in the society, and you should feel proud that you are a philosophy student. Whatever your syllabus, all stalwarts, right? They rule the nations, different nations. They played a major role in shaping the civilization, in shaping the country, in shaping the economy, whatnot. So this is the source of knowledge and wisdom, and that is why this philosophy now, even though students are not coming because nowadays the job oriented mode, but still you can, if you understand the management model, you can still sell your products. You have plenty of knowledge. Whatever you take now, right into the something in the dailies or in the weeklies, it is the treasure of knowledge mixed with the present situation. Correct? But you have to take your field. This is my field because it is the ocean. Philosophy is ocean. But you have to take a stand. This is what I am interested. This is what I want to contribute. So there are a lot of things to be done. We had once in you must be knowing Thales, 7th century BC philosopher. So he was like me. He was keep on preaching, and he was questioned. You are always giving ideas. Can you make any business, successful business. Because generally philosopher, generally they they are good at advising, but they are not good at doing business. That is the complaint against them. But he took as a challenge, and he started the olive industry, and he made the olive oil. These are all, you must be knowing this, correct? So the philosophy is the soul of the entire civilization, soul of the willpower of the society. So you should deliver this to the community, and you are the only people you can find out where are the, now suppose the society is going towards, the younger generation going towards the social media, there is no ethics, there is no business ethics, there is no culture, civilization, everything. You are the people to write, you are the people to deliver a talk on this. You have the rich knowledge on everything, correct? So that is why the department would have given the concept called reboot. So you have to awaken, you must be knowing the Renaissance philosophy, Italian Renaissance, all those things. So you have to have the Renaissance philosophy who discovered the field. They need actually now Renaissance. That's the meaning of this reboot. I know you are all, well matured, well informed. So this definitely will be an enlightening series, and resource person like Professor S.Lourdnathan would have, they will definitely give you a very good wisdom and knowledge to you. So I thank the Department of Philosophy and head of the department, Professor Indra and Dr. Vel Murugan and other faculty members for arranging this wonderful philosophy day function. I hope this will be very useful to you. Have a nice time, and thank you one and all for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your thoughtful and encouraging words with us. We are truly grateful for your presence and wisdom. Without wisdom, there is no knowledge. It's true. Now, I'm going to welcome Dr. G. Varshanti, Dean, School of Humanities, honoring by Dr. Ragas. It's my great pleasure to invite our guest of honor, Professor Clement Sagayarajra Lourdes, to share his valuable thoughts and words. Professor Clement sir is a creative writer, critic, translator, and self-taught artist. He specializes in Indian writing in English and translation studies. He is the author of many stories and editor of 5 books with 15 research papers and 27 articles published. He has guided 8 PhD and 32 MPhil scholars. He delivered 15 lectures on Indian English fiction at Réunion University, France. Internationally recognized as a portrait artist, his works
Director, Professor Emeritus, Dean, Vasanthi Madam, Head of the Department of Philosophy, Dr. Indra, and our invited guests, Professor S.Lourdnathan, faculty from other departments, scholars and students. I'm very happy to be here with you as a part of this very useful program which you are going to have continuously for 10 days. The Department of Philosophy always races ahead, I would say, because World Philosophy Day is on 20th November only. 10 days earlier you are celebrating it. How fast you are going, that clearly shows your enthusiasm and your interest in your subject. I appreciate that. Now, I am not a person to deliver a talk on philosophy, but I can just tell you how important is the philosophy and what is the fundamental difference between the Western philosophy and our own philosophy. There is a very marked difference. That alone I would like to point it out. You know, so many years ago, many centuries ago, there was a book called Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift. And this particular book, when it was published, it has taken the entire literary scenario by storm. And there are people who said that this is a very good book, but some people did not like it at all. Later, people turned down this beautiful novel as a novel meant for children. It is not so. If you want to know a philosophical book in literature, you should go to Gulliver's Travel, book number 4. It is written in 4 books. The last book is very important. The last book is about the travels of the protagonist to an unknown island, uninhabited island, where the horses are the rulers. No human being is there. The entire island is managed by the horses under the kingship of another beautiful horse. And the protagonist, who is the writer of this story, goes to this island. He is marveled at this particular site where the entire island is governed by the horses. And after some time, he understood the language of the horses because he happens to be a very clever man. And the horse king teaches him the horse language too. Let us not discuss anything about it. But the horse king wants to know about what are the subjects Gulliver interested in. And Gulliver at that time talks about philosophy. And the horse king is listening to it. Nowhere you come across a situation like this where the protagonist of the novel is talking philosophy to a well-learned horse. One is human, the other one is a horse, but the protagonist thinks that somewhere or other he should talk philosophy and try to impress upon the horse king. The horse king listens to him, and Gulliver talks about Socrates and Plato. After that he slides down to Aristotle and a number of other philosophers. But when he comes to the third, fourth, and the fifth of the philosophers in the list, the asking says, no, I don't want to listen to you. But the first two philosophers, who are they? Repeat their names once again. Immediately says, Socrates and Plato. Yeah, they are good. I understand their philosophy. To some extent, I can understand what they say, and there is a little truth in what they say. Even now, the asking, seems to be telling Gulliver that they are superior to human beings. The horses are superior to human beings. But still, the asking accepts Socrates and Plato as philosophers. You see, even in an unknown island, where a kind of a mythological creatures are ruling, philosophy is a saleable commodity. Because they understand that philosophy is so very much important. One thing that I would like to tell you is the attitude of the philosophers towards death. There also it has been discussed. Here also we are reading it. Valluvar makes a mention of that. Vallalar makes a mention of that. And the Bible makes a mention of death. And according to the Bible, if you are born into this world, you have to die one day. And all the four gospel writers have agreed and uniformly asserted that Jesus gave up his ghost, died, and then only the resurrection starts. Not before dying. As long as you live in the world, then a day would come that you will get out of this world. Your body will get perished and your soul will be liberated. That is the well-known philosophy. But with a difference. If you read literature, you will understand that almost every one of them has a kind of a fear for death. And that made them to write a number of stories about death and a number of philosophical treatises over death. And even Saint Paul, Father knows fully well, at one point raises the question, "Oh glory, oh death, where is thy sting? Oh grave, where is thy glory?" So why people are talking about the things that are connected with death? Because they themselves are afraid of death. And you must have read the very famous poem, Elegy written in a country churchyard by Thomas Gray. Not only that, along with Gray, so many other great poets wrote about a lot of things about death, that a school was born. And you know what is the name of the school? Graveyard School of Poetry. That is the title given to that particular school. Graveyard School of Poetry. Why? Because all the poets who wrote poems during this period, they were writing about death. Not to escape from death because it is impossible, but how to welcome death. And these poems offer a kind of consolation. You might have heard about a very great poet in English literature called D.H. Lawrence. And D.H. Lawrence has written a wonderful poem called, it is named after a flower, gentian. Gentian is the name of a flower, and it is a kind of a very rare flower, just like our kuriji. A very rare flower. And it has got two different colors, two in one. The interior part of the flower is totally dark, but outside is violet in color. A very beautiful and a large shaped flower. And D.H. Lawrence, at the time of his death, wanted to write a poem. And this is about death. And it is titled as Prevenient Gentians. That is the title of the poem, Prevenient Gentians. There he says, I am not afraid of death, and I can go into the hell, I can walk into the hell, but give me this flower in my hands, so that with the help of this flower, carrying this flower along, I can reach the hell gate. Why he needs that flower? What flower is going to do to him? Whether the flower is going to act as a kind of a consolation? Certainly, yes. Why? Because I already told you, the flower has got two colors. The interior part is totally dark. That means death. And outside the flower, it is a very lovely violet blue in color. And that shows, that is indicative of life after death. One is death, the interior part, and the outer form of the flower, as I already told you, which is blue in color, is indicative of the fact that there is life after death. You resurrect, as Jesus did, and your life becomes something different. And that is why D.H. Lawrence said, you give me this flower, and with the help of this flower, I can happily enter into the hell gate. But my dear friends, now I am going to tell you what is the attitude towards death by our own poets and our own writers. Let me take the example of Tagore. Tagore wrote Gitanjali, and in the Gitanjali, he talks about death in a very lovely manner. And that give you a kind of a consolation to face death bravely. What does Tagore say? Tagore says that death is almost similar to that of a small oil lamp. The oil lamp is burning throughout the day. Night also it was burning, but in the morning we are not keeping the oil lamp anymore because the broad daylight has come. But the broad daylight has come, where is the need of that small oil lamp which is still burning? Who will keep it? You will extinguish it. Why are you extinguishing it? Because the broad daylight has come. Extinguishing the light is almost similar to that of death. And seeing the broad daylight is resurrection. That is life after death. When there is such a promising thing, why should we bother about this small lamp? Let the lamp get away from it. Another important thing that I should tell you, in almost all the languages, in almost all the philosophical speculations, we have got only one thing. And repeatedly, they are saying how to meet death and how to meet or how to face death in a very, very, challenging manner. Don't be afraid of this death, but rather face death. And facing death at the time of crisis is very, very difficult. I suppose you would have read the very famous fable by La Fontaine, the French writer. There you come across a woodcutter. The woodcutter works very hard from morning to evening, and after that he has to bundle up all those trees that he had cut and take them to the market. And this has become a very difficult thing because of his increasing age. He started lamenting to Lord Jupiter, come on, why don't you take my life away? Because I am getting pestered and I don't want to live in this world. Every day, after bundling those woods, he started shouting at Jupiter. One day, Jupiter arrived, stood before him and said, you have been asking me always to come over here. Now I am before you. What do you want? Why did you call me? Do you know at the time what the woodcutter said? Please take these woods and put it on my head. Let me go away. Is it for this purpose you call me? Yes. I have no other purpose. Take the wood and put it on my head. Let me go away. Because at the time of facing death, that seems to be a threatening one. Friends, don't simply rely on philosophy or any other thing. that would give you a kind of a false sense of security to face death, but it is not the real one. But only in Tamil Nadu, a great saint did not offer any concession, did not offer any kind of consolement, did not give any advice how to face death, but he said how to avoid it. He said that you can avoid death altogether. How? He experimented with that, came out with his own theory. How far the theory succeeded, we do not know, because he is not here to tell us about it. But his theory is, as far as this body is concerned, it was not created for death. It was not created for burial. It is for something else. That you have to find out. All our siddhas, they experimented with it, and sir happens to be a master in this type of spiritual discourses. And all the hermits who lived in India, he has a thorough knowledge about it, our director. But it was Vallalar, Ramalinga Vallalar, who said that I can teach you something so that you can avoid death. Very beautifully he said. Friends, if you know Tamil, you can listen to this. உற்றமொழி உரைக்கின்றேன் உரிமையினால் உமக்கே உறவனன்று பகைவன் என உண்ணாதீர் உலகில் கற்றவரும் கல்லாரும் இறந்திட காண்கின்றீர் கலக்கமெல்லாம் கரங்க வரும் மரணமும் சம்மதமோ சற்றும் இதை சம்மதியாது என் மனம் உன் மனம்தான் கல்மனமோ வன்மனமோ அறியும் சற்றிதனை தடுத்திடலாம் என்னோடு இணைமி என் மார்க்கம் இறப்பொழிக்கும் சன்மார்க்கம் தானே. This is what he said. It is possible to put an end to death. Our India is the know-all, whereas other philosophers are only giving some kind of comforts and consolations how to bear death. Here is a person who said that you can avoid death. Practice certain things which are very, very simple. And if you do that, you can avoid it. And in fact, 3 or 4 times he has been photographed. Because at his time there were photographs available. But not even one paragraph they came out with his image. Every attempt failed. And one person one day brought him a statue made of clay. Beautiful statue. But he just took it, threw it away so that it went to pieces. He said, இந்த பொன்னான மேனியை மண்ணாக ஆக்கி விட்டிருக்கீங்க. இதுக்கு படைக்கப்பட்டது இந்த மீன். இதை போய் மண்ணாக்கிட்டீங்க. நியாயமா? He just threw it away and it was broken to pieces. Therefore, from the very beginning, you may ask me, sir, all the things that he said, what happened to him at last? Did he die? Friends, nobody knows whether he died or not. Because he disappeared. He disappeared. 3 times he asked the small children to open and close the door. He went inside a room. I myself went and examined the room. If there are any loopholes and if there is any escape route, nothing. It is just an ordinary room. Even now if you go to Vadalur, you will be able to see the room the last time he was living there and how he disappeared. The 4th time he asked the children, you can now open the room, I will get in. And after some time, I will ask you to open it, you can open. But this time he did not ask. The children were waiting for some time. Later, they came and opened the door and saw that the room was empty. That's all. It is empty. So, why I am telling you, I am not asking you to believe his words, but to what extent our Indian philosophy can go. This is the thing that we must try in these days, because he seems to be a man who is totally going against a system where we all believe in. The entire world believe in. Philosophy can show you the way, and if given more time, he would have come out with more comfortable ideas. He would have experimented it. But unfortunately, in this world, whatever you say, that will never be sold like hotcakes. People will realize what you say only after your death. That is the pathetic thing that we often see in this world. And let these type of philosophical speculation give us some idea so that we will be able to understand the reality in a better way. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable and inspiring words. We deeply appreciate your time and guidance to tell how to welcome death, and it's obvious that death will come after life. But the Tamil famous philosopher said how to avoid death. Next, with immense respect and delight, I now invite our next guest, Dr. G. Varshanti, to enlighten us with her gracious words and valuable insights. Dr. Varshanti ma'am has 35 years of teaching experience and has guided 20 PhD scholars with 5 more on roll and published 60 papers in national and international journals. Her areas of specialization include sports psychology, sports medicine, measurement and evaluation, and volleyball. She holds a PG diploma in yoga education from Bharatiya University and completed a 6-week table tennis course at Patiala. She has served as coordination of the community college, head of the department, and director in charge. In the Directorate of Sports at Pondicherry University, currently she is the head of the Women's Cell and has been a member of Executive Council, Academic Council, and University Court. Thank you.
Good morning, all the eminent personnel on the dais, and also my fellow colleagues and dear scholars and students of various departments. It's an immense pleasure for me to be here this morning because already Dr. Indra was calling me for this program, and in spite of my other appointment as a table tennis observer, I was unable to go there because I just want to attend as the dean. This is the first program being attending for the philosophy department. So I was unable to refuse to her. And this morning, I just seen that Philosophy Day, World Philosophy Day, that is being celebrated on November 28th, as our professor told. And I assume that being a teacher, I feel that since we are going to have your exams, your semester exams, so your head has made this program a little bit earlier. So regarding the philosophical idea, what I thought is, generally people think that we just come to university or colleges to learn and then go away. But as a student of philosophy, I feel that you should make use of this subject, philosophy, as not only as a subject, but also as a tool for your practical life. Because even I've just seen the invitation, as Sir told, as our guest director, he just told the first word, the reboot. Of course, your madam has started rebooting you because whenever we get any problem in a mobile, people just say try to reboot your mobile. So this is what she has started because you're going to write your exams and you're all, some of you may be new to this university, and she has just started this program so that you may be rebooted in order to be prepared for your exams. And I feel that the students of philosophy are all lovers of wisdom, because the word philosophy just says that it is a knowledge of wisdom. And this is what, because even we have a subject in philosophy for physical education. I used to think about, because I am not taking a paper on that, but I studied long back, some 30 to 35 years back. So regarding the idealism, all these things related to philosophy. And just some of the students may say that it is really boring. Even they say, because if they have interest, nothing is boring. And I used to tell them, just when you read it, it is only whatever things happening. As our professor has told, Clemens sir, see whatever is happening in life, those are the things we say that it is, we can take it as a philosophical thought. I just remember one of my uncle, he was no more now, he was around 93 or something, when he explained, he used to tell me that philosophy is nothing but whatever is happening in our life. He used to say that a man who, he will say that we can easily identify a person by the way he behaves. I used to ask him, how that you're telling that, uncle? I used to ask him, and say, if you see a person who's always shouting at somebody else, that means he would have born as a dog in the last generation, and the last person. He just tell that because his way of thinking would have been like that. But I used to just imagine people, when I say, when I just think about his ideas, I feel that would have been the same. It would have been real also. So this is what I had an idea about the subject of philosophy. And now I think your madam has made some lot of programs. And I think this is, we say that a sound mind and a sound body, where you're all being prepared for your exams. So once your body is sound, your mind will be sound enough to sit and write for the examinations. And we have a lot of activities I hope you have in the afternoon. And this is what even I have seen, that the various conferences or various games or events are being conducted to inaugurate this philosophical day, the World Philosophy Day. And I hope that the same program is being organized in your department. And I congratulate the head of the department and the assistant professor, Dr. S.Lourdnathan, for just shaping this program along with the students and working for it. And thank you once again for calling me here. Thank you.
Now, a very warm welcome to our keynote speaker, Dr. Jawaharlal K, to deliver the keynote address for laying the foundation for the inaugural lecture on the theme Science and Values. Thank you.
Respected dignitaries, distinguished colleagues and dear students, good morning. It's given me immense pleasure to give a keynote address on science and values. Before I'm going to give this topic given to me, I just had a word with our father, Jonas. He said what is science and values? He said that science is nothing but it always deals with the facts and the figures, whereas values, you can say that it deals with the emotions and belief, not knowledge, and always it's a subjective claim, a subjective truth, whereas science is always deals with the objective truth. So keeping this idea, I started preparing my keynote theme. So it will be more appropriate by quoting our Indian Constitution, Article 51A(b). It talks about the fundamental duty of a citizen of India, quoting that to develop scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform by Ambedkar. So generally we people talk about science. We mean that a disciplined way of investigating the natural and the social world, and the pursuit of method, evidence, predictive frameworks, and the explanatory models. Then when we talks about the value, we mean that it's a norms, commitments, and the moral orientation and the human concern that shape how we act and how we judge and how we envision for a good life. So I am going to give you the traditional view about the science and values, how it was approached as a distinct domain or distinct entity. Then later on, particularly if I want to say that John Dewey, he don't want to reject, he don't want to make a distinction between what are science and values as a separate entity, a separate domain. He want to put it as a integrated, he want to integrate it to have a discourse to address a human problem, human thinking and a rational activity. And after discussing what are from what are traditional view to the modern view, the contemporary, particularly Thomas Kuhn and Jurgen Habermas, how they discuss about science. Because the eminent professor in this department, Professor Srinivas, one who is no more, when he talked about the philosophy of science, particularly incorporating critical theories, Karl Popper, Thomas Kuhn, and the Lakatos, all these people, when I was influenced from his teaching. Some way I want to give the brief or surface level of understanding what science and values. The distinction between how it was integrated and how it was interpreted by even the social philosophers. Only this much. The three aspects I'm going to discuss. The traditional view, if I want to say that, first, the philosophers like Francis Bacon, Galileo Galilei, and Isaac Newton, these people symbolized the spirit, means they sought that the laws of nature independent of moral and religious and also political concerns. And the 19th century philosopher, the positivist, what we call the Auguste Comte, he reinforced the same belief, and according to him, he says that genuine knowledge is a scientific knowledge and it can be verified by observation and experiment. So according to him, the science simply tells us what is and not what to be. So values belongs to the domain of ethics or religion, not science. So then come to after positivism, the logical positivist in 20th century, particularly A.J. Ayer and the Vienna Circle, continue the same separation, same approach. So they declare that value statement like murder is wrong within a course are not factual proposition. That's why he's saying that meaningless in scientific terms. For them, science deals with the facts, not the values. So, but this distinction, this strict division between fact and values begin to smash as philosophers started to see how deeply values are embedded in a practice of science itself. So I want to highlight here, bringing this guy, David Hume, one who makes the facts value distinction as a philosophical challenge. He is saying that not a statement about what ought to be can logically be derived from what is. So he says that the what is hyphen art. Is as a science and the art as a the values what you discuss. So he's saying that no statement about what ought to be can logically be derived from what is. This is known as I said, that is within the quotes is hyphen art problem. So then later thinkers, they begin to question whether this distinction can truly hold in the real world problem. So science is not a separate entity, or you can say that it's not a disembodied activity. It is a human enterprise carried out within a society, guided by human purposes and ideals. So every stage of a scientific inquiry, from the selection of problems, method of research, and interpretation of results, all involves value judgments. So for example, don't mistake that quoting this one. So establishing this Kaushala in many universities and colleges, rather than rising a fund cancer for research and other thing. And also to study climate change, I'm giving example, don't mistake. But to study climate change rather than cryptocurrency algorithms is not dictated by facts but by values, or we the human being. So by what society or state consider important or good. So then I want to highlight even the Immanuel Kant position, who distinguished between a pure reason and a practical reason. When he talks about the pure reason, he gives us knowledge of phenomena. When he talks about the practical reason, that gives a moral law. So science belongs to what a pure reason, which gives a knowledge, Whereas the ethics, it's a practical reason that gives us a moral law. But Kant's deeper insight was that both arise from same rational faculty, the same human mind seeking both the truth and the goodness. So then I'm coming to the Weber, the sociologist, Max Weber, and when he talks about value relevance and value freedom, he argued while scientists must be objective in their method and avoid letting personal bias influence their results. So the science, the choice of what to study, the subject matter of science is itself guided by cultural and social values. So Weber's nuanced position is still relevant today. Science can strive for objectivity in procedure, but it can never be entirely detached from human concern. So then come to the Thomas Kuhn, one who talks about the paradigm shift. The paradigm shift, very familiar the thing you people know. So the paradigm shift, he showed that a scientific progress is not purely cumulative, but proceeds through paradigm shift, but what you call the radical changes in the conceptual framework that define what counts as a legitimate science. So the acceptance of paradigms is not merely a matter of empirical success, but also the aesthetic and social values, simplicity, coherence, explanatory power, even beauty. That's why the scientific rationality itself is partly shaped by non-empirical values. So I want to give the example because why saying that the paradigm shift in a particular the fundamental conceptual change of framework. Because if you start with the Galileo, the geocentric and the heliocentric, you see that. So these are the changes in the scientific approach. So if the science influences the world, it cannot. This is the ethical aspect I'm just bringing here. So if the science influences the world, it cannot escape a moral responsibility. Particularly the Albert Einstein, one who warned that our technology has always surpassed our humanity. So the 20th century philosophers, the 20th century that showed that the danger of value-free science from the misuse of scientific knowledge in warfare and the eugenics into exploitation of nature. So the philosopher like Hans Jonas, one who talks about the imperative of responsibility, he argued that science must be guided by the ethics of a care for future of life on earth. His moral principle he takes within a course. Act so that the effects of your action are compatible with the permanence of a genuine human life on earth. Is a call for integrating ethics into scientific practice. That was happened particularly what a Jonas approach. So I am just I'm just moving to integrating portions. So John Dewey, you know that well-known pragmatist American philosopher who rejected the separation of science and values. He saw that scientific inquiry as an extension of a human problem solving, a tool for improving human life. So for him, values are not eternal absolutes, but hypotheses to be tested and revised in the light of experience. That's why science itself can help refine our values, as ma'am rightly pointed out, but actually she has already given the keynote address. So I am just enlarging, I am just extending, because whatever I prepared, she precise within a few points. So scientists pursue truth not merely as technicians, but as a persons moved by ideals, honesty, curiosity, and integrity. So today we live in the we live in what Jürgen Habermas called the technological society. Science and technology have become force that shape not only our material world but also our moral landscape. So the challenge is that technological progress often overtake our moral reflection. The question is not whether science is value laden. It undoubtedly is, but what kind of value should guide science? Just give me a few minutes, guys. I'm just finishing. So I want to quote the left thinker American, the Martha Nussbaum. She argues that for human capabilities approach, where science and technology must promote a fundamental human flourishing, health, education, equality, environmental harmony. So science without values leads to technological domination, and values without science can lead to superstitions. Therefore, we need a balanced integration of both is what are essential for human progress, as ma'am rightly pointed out that how we are going to cultivate, or how you are going to, as a discourse, how you are going to create, or a metaphor you can do that. So in the words of Albert Einstein, the science can tell us what is true but not what is right. So philosophy, ethics, human freedom, that must guide a scientific endeavor toward good of humans, good of humanity. So that's why let us remember that science is not alien force, but the expression of a human mind. So the Whitehead who saw that science and philosophy as a complement. Science discovers a pattern of fact, and philosophy contemplates their meaning. That's why the goal is not to moralize a science from outside, but reintegrate a value within the very act of knowing. Every experiment is an ethical encounter with the truth. Every day, every discovery, a moral event. So, but it must also reflect our conscience, compassion, and moral responsibility. So the future of civilization will depend on whether we can unite scientific rationality with the moral sensitivity, or whether we can transform knowledge into wisdom and progress into purpose. So I am just quoting Mitter's engagement with the science. He says that science never technical, it was ethical and civilizational. He saw that the scientific temper not only the spirit of inquiry, but a foundation of justice and equality. So in his address to the students of Bombay University in 1938, he said that cultivate, within a course, cultivate the spirit of inquiry and the courage of conviction, have faith in a reason, not in any authority. So for him, science was not the opposite of religion, but antidote to blind faith. So science in Ambedkar's sense was a disciplined pursuit of truth, guided by moral law of equality. So he transformed the science into a social ethic, a way of thinking that liberates a mind from dogma and a society from a domination. So science is not simply a set of abstract truth. It's carried out by the people within an institution under condition of responsibility within a society. So science to serve human needs, not a political or caste dominations. This position aligned with Albert Einstein and Bernard Russell, those people who warned about the moral direction of scientific advancement after World War II. So science should liberate, not to enslave. Knowledge should enlighten, not to manipulate. Progress should be measured not by machine, by justice and humanity. So every student and every thinker must unite scientific understanding with a moral courage. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you, sir, for those enriching and thoughtful words of science and values. Values are embedded science itself. Your words have truly made this event more special. Now, I have the honor to invite in our invited speaker, Dr. S.Lourdnathan, to deliver his lecture. Dr. Lourdnathan, sir, currently serves as Professor Emeritus at Jawaharlal Nehru University. His research focuses on contemporary philosophical interpretations of society, culture, and religion. He works extensively on social epistemology, ethics, and post-colonial liberation discourse. A distinguished academic, he has made significant contributions to modern philosophical thought. Thank you.
Small announcement before the lecture starts, a 5 to 10 minutes break. So please assemble here after 5 to 10 minutes.
So, good afternoon. I have the honor to inviting our invited speaker, Dr. S.Lourdnathan, to deliver his lecture. Thank you.
Dear students, scholars, my dear colleague, professors of philosophy, Professor Clement Lucas, I thank you for this opportunity of inviting me to reflect the issue related to science and values. I think my relation with this department is prior to your HOD relation. When your department was started, Professor R.P. was my professor. So from that time onwards, I used to come. And during Thomas' time, he used to conduct refresher courses on phenomenology. So we used to conduct refresher courses for a month. So my coming to your department is academically was quite rich in the past. I think I continued after Indra and Velu took over for a couple of seminars. Recently, I think I came here for Epistemology of Buddhism, which Velu was talking. So in that way, academically, I feel comfortable in relating with you. Another way, I feel homely. When I say academically, I feel comfortable. Also, I feel very homely with you. In the sense, Pondicherry is my own space, territory. So I moved away after my 6th standard. And returning to Pondicherry whenever possible and coming home back home. In that way, I feel quite associated both temporally and spatially to be with you. And I really appreciate you for thinking in advance, I think somebody pointed out, with reference to rethinking, celebrating the philosophy of the world, our World Philosophy Day, and you are extending for a week, which means you are extending a discussion, not a day, for a week, so that there is a reflective generation is able to be coming out in that way. Morning, I remember I heard 3 important discussions that has happened. After the welcome address, Professor Director was talking about how philosophy is mother, the origin of all sciences, and how still philosophy ought to be the mother of all sciences. And he made a very interesting example of your doctorate is always characterized, prefixed by philosophy, which means as students of philosophy, as including professors, we are always learning philosophy or unlearning philosophy, either way. I think we owe to this mother of all sciences by a mode of reflection. In that sense, you should be proud. As students of philosophy, you should be proud and hold that sense of reflective capability in engaging the terrains of knowledge. I think the second lecture was something from Professor Clement Lourdes. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Lourdes. Fortunately, unfortunately, my name is also Lourdes. And these Lourdes people are too reflective. I found Professor sharing he was all the time combining philosophy and literature. And I think the whole body was leading when he lectured, and especially on the theme of death, which is a central issue in philosophy and religion and in literature. So I really enjoyed Professor Lourdes of your lecture, and especially the way literature is brought or culminates into philosophical discussion. So thank you for that kind of reflection. Now, the whole question which I would like to place before you for your continued reflection is the question that you raised today, or you will be discussing throughout this week. I look at it at 2 different levels. And there is a surface level of bringing together science and values, the exteriority level, the external level. You are raising a very important question. How science is related to values and how values are related to science. So that is a foundational question. I think the whole big discussion is taking place by inviting various scholars and your own discussion. And how values are related to science. And your keynote address, and especially Professor Velu, exactly hit that nail. how values are ought to be related with science, taking into account the discussion that has happened within modern philosophy, which you call scientific philosophy, which you call empirical science, which you call positivistic science. And moving towards modernism, Abelu was trying to relate the necessity, the need of human face within science. Basically, I think exactly the keynote address Professor Velu hit upon that particular point. From my point of view, you are raising a very deeper question. You are reflecting upon what is the validity of science. In other words, what is the epistemological position of science and what is the epistemology of ethics. In other words, you are raising a foundational issue, not simply a surface issue of science is related to values and values are related to science. I think seriously, this issue of science in relation to value or morality, I think Bertrand Russell makes that distinction very clearly, how knowledge is related to values and how values are ought to be related to. Put it differently, what is exactly the epistemological terrain of science? The question is, what is the legitimacy of science to claim its validity? Am I making my question clear? How science legitimizes itself to claim that its truth is valid. Parallelly speaking, how morality, or what you call ethics, delegitimizing itself to claim its validity. So you are asking a question, a very deeper question, which is a philosophically foundational question, constitutively a philosophical question related to the epistemological foundations of science and ethics. I think that is how I understand the whole discussion that you will be having for this week alone. So basically the question that you are raising is the epistemology of science, can it be related with the epistemology of morality? Is that association possible? If it is possible, at what ground such possibility is open? And this issue actually raised during modern period, especially from 16, 17, 18, 19, even now, the issue of relation between ethics and science remains in a way debatable, contested. Pure scientists will hold that value neutrality, that science is value neutral, it is objective. You look at the world objectively, right? And those realm that doesn't belong to science, they look at the world in a non-objective manner. In other words, there is a strong discussion, a contesting point, a debate that has been going on in the last 3 centuries, discussion between value neutrality as objectivity, value affirmation, value affiliation as non-objectivity. So at the third level, you are raising a very serious question, the debate between value neutrality of scientific claim and value dependency of a, let's say, other than pure science claim, the humanities claim. Is it clear? The claim of political science, the claim of literature, the claim of philosophy, the claim of sociology. So how do you address this issue? Because this is a contested area. I think apparently science terminology, value terminology raises you, invites you to address the issue of how they can be brought together. Should they be brought together by an art question? Like Karl Popper, Open Society and Enemies, by an art question. Art means science ought to be like this. But the question is, can science foundationally be ethical? Rather than telling science by its knowledge ought to be good. In other words, to put it in my own simple language, you are raising 2 + 2 is 4. That's a mathematical knowledge. A triangle principle of identity, Aristotelian principle of identity. Is it clear? The whole idea of a priori conditions. A triangle having 3 sides. It is analytical truth. 2 + 2 is treated as an analytical truth. That's one part of knowledge. And probably a professor of chemistry who was chairing the session in the morning will tell me water is hydrogen-oxygen combination. It's a scientific knowledge. But my friend father is here. He will tell me in the Sunday church water is holy. Now, he is claiming 3 things. water is hydrogen and oxygen. Another sector is claiming water is holy. Is it clear? Now, our water is good. Is it clear? A blessed water is good water. Some side of morality. Morality is question between good and bad. Now, are all these same legitimate? To say that water is hydrogen oxygen is the same as water is holy. You are raising a problem. That is the philosophical way of engaging it, rather than preaching philosophy. As students of philosophy, we are in continuous process of reflecting the reflection that has been contributed through the thinking generation. Let me quickly go through the history of philosophy. First, the problematize to claim that a scientific knowledge is the same as to claim ethics is good. And how do you bring them together? How do you reconcile them together? But in the public, in the political space, in the non-philosophical world, everything is treated as if our claims are same. Water is holy is also same as water is hydrogen oxygen. Is it clear? But an academic thinking mind will have certain amount of discontent unless it is thinking. Otherwise, it absorbs whatever is preached by religion and politics, even by philosophers. Is it clear? That a kind of, probably Habermas, I think Professor Velu made a reference. Philosophy remains true not because it repeats what has been constructed as truth. Philosophy remains true by renouncing. And don't convert that word renouncing in the religious language. Self-renunciation. That's a bit too much. By renouncing means by questioning. And that's what I think Velu also made a reference. Paradigm shift. Is it clear? That's a theory is theoretical when it informs the reality. In that information, if there are analogies, difficulties which are unexplainable area, there arises the necessity of a shift in our thinking. And philosophers must be ready for that. Can a Vedantic be ready for a shift in his thinking? I'm asking you. Can a Dvaitavadan will be ready to be reconciled with new understanding? Can a religious truth be as scientifically ready to inform itself by science and transform a shift in paradigms? Very difficult. And there is a politics will come into it. As students of philosophy, I am taking some of these key words. Let's take these words. Proximity, center, periphery. Let me use my discussion or a discourse in this terminologies. What I mean by center and periphery. What I mean by proximity and otherness. Let me focus my discussion only on this important area. The center and the periphery, right? Proximity and the otherness. Proximity and the otherness. I think in our discussion in philosophy or learning philosophy, there is particular theme is constantly over there in philosophical world. For example, the Greek philosophy is a kind of centric philosophy. Platonic is a very dominant centric philosophy. We call it Platonic idealism, where there is a discussion about Plato's metaphysics, where there is a discussion about Plato's epistemology. Epistemologically speaking, Plato talks about the denial of the knowledge of the copy world in an epistemic process. Is it clear? Highlights you towards a pure episteme, pure consciousness. And there is an allegory of the cave. You are familiar with that. From shadowy knowledge, you move towards the highest pure form of knowledge. Idea in itself from the copy world. The reality is only a copy of the ideal world, or the Platonic epistemology, which I call a centric philosophical discourse. A centric philosophical discourse. Right? But this philosophical discourse has a context. It did not emerge sitting on a chair and somebody revealed to Plato and some Holy Spirit came and woodified in his ear. You get it? That such a philosophy did not emerge. There should be some reason. There should be some social, political, existential context, right? When Bertrand Russell writes, he doesn't write that context. He writes the problems of philosophy or history of Western philosophy in a very literary manner. Professor Clement will be interested in that, how Russell writes history of philosophy. Is it clear? But then there's a context from which philosophy emerges. It has emerged. I would say, put it this way, there is a mother, not philosophy is the mother of all sciences, there is a mother to philosophical emergence. Philosophy had an uterus. Philosophy had a virus to be born. Is it clear? It is delivered. The deliverance was the world, the environment. So when Plato argumented for idealism, attached to it, there is an idea of centrality of an idea as pure as correct. And that is operated on the legitimacy of epistemic coherency. Father can easily catch my word. It is legitimized on the idea of what? Epistemic coherency. What do you mean epistemic coherency? That you cohere with the ontological idea. All men are mortal, Socrates man, therefore what? Eh? Mortal. Professor Indra is here, must have taught you logic. இது வேற ஒண்ணும் கிடையாது. It's an epistemology of coherency. Is it clear? All priests are holy. Father is a priest, therefore what? அப்ப father holy-யா? கேள்வி. அப்பதான் philosophy பண்ணுவார். இல்லைன்னா அவர் நம்ம ட்ரீட் பண்ணிட்டு போயிட்டே இருப்பார். That is called ontological coherency, logical coherency, mathematical coherency, analytical coherency. Plato proposes, formulates, articulates such centric philosophy. It is idealism. More than idealism, there is another page, another dimension. There is another side of the coin. That Platonic centrality is proposing, articulating a centric ideological world. And that centric ideological world situates around the periphery world. Now, what I call centric, antithetical to certain periphery world. The non-Greek are the periphery world. The English, British colonialism, who is the center? The ruling center, right? The Indians then what? The periphery world. What is periphery world? And in some sense an outsider, some sense a colonized world. Is it clear? If the ruling politics is of a particular linguistic line, the non other than that language becomes what? Periphery. Today there's a big discussion between Hindi and local languages. So there is always a struggle to establish the center by the center itself, by dominant or less dominant or political or philosophical base. And we become part of that. Is it clear? Consciously, unconsciously. And we ally with the ruling center. Fortunately, unfortunately, because for this reason. When I was in JNU, I saw many professors aligning with politics of center, forgot philosophy. They were doing political philosophy. Is it clear? As learning community, we need to have a different politics of knowledge, which you call ethics of knowledge, a different sense of knowledge. Is it clear? Let me come back to my argumentation this way. In the history of philosophy, there have always been philosophy emerged, not purely from ideas, that is true, but basically it emerged from a context between two different contexts. A context of centrality, a context of peripherality. Go and read Heraclitus. Heraclitus doesn't belong to Greek philosophy, but when they wrote about Heraclitus, they said he is a Greek philosopher. It is a baptismal approach. Is it clear? Even if you don't want to be a Christian, I will convert you. And that is what Greek have done it. Their baptism, I am talking a very, very soft language, was militant. That was waging a war against the non-Greek nations, the Ionian nations, the Turkey, the southern Italy, the Arabian, and the Asian India. Is it clear? So, philosophy has emerged not from pure Shruti, Shruti தான் Indian
Yes,
philosophy.
Shruti.
சரியா? Word is not the beginning of the world. Is it clear? At least in philosophy. But this is from my point of view. You can contest with me and you should contest. Is it clear? And philosophy originated, given birth, not immediately from a speculative theory, but from a physical world. This is my first position. Philosophy became philosophical by reflecting on the immediacy of the physicality. And that is what science. Science is an encountering the physical world. And philosophy originated, nativated, and navigates, passed through from the contextuality of the world. The context for Heraclitus and the Greek world, it is a context of attention. A context of attention. The periphery needs to be what we call subordinated towards the Greek world, the Greece world. And the Greece world in medieval period must be subordinated by the Roman world. And the Roman world has to be subordinated by the medieval world. Father is the institute of the medieval world. And that is the history of philosophy. Is it clear? That is how the Western philosophy has boomed itself. So there is a context, the social context, the historical context, the cultural context, the political context, where philosophy not navigated, nativated from that analogical, symbolic expression. Now I'll remember you ancient Greek thought, or pre-Greek thought. I never say pre-Socratic, I say pre-Greek thought. Because Thales is not a Greek philosopher. Is it clear? And Heraclitus, some Ionian school, Thales also Ionian school. And later, after militant, colonizing the non-Greek world into the Greek world, in the tag mandram, what tag? Greek philosopher. நீங்க மோசமான ஆளுங்க history philosophy. You have baptized everything towards centrality, and we teach philosophy as something like, a pure innocent child being transmitted to the generation. And that is why Heraclitus writes that the dialectics of the world, is it clear? The principle of the world, he would say tension, war. Symbolically, he will say war is a substratum of the universe. Do you understand Heraclitus now? And he will use symbolic word fire. Am I right? Pre-Socratic thinking, one syllabus is over, right? Right. So the pre-Socratic philosophers, their philosophical reflection originated in a context of sociality, in a context of reality. I put this way, in a context of non-philosophy. Reality is not philosophical, right? Only when I reflect upon the chair, I make a perception about the chair, it becomes philosophical. Is it clear? So philosophy is philosophical by its nature. Nalla புரிஞ்சுங்க. அதனுடைய இயல்புல it becomes philosophical, not remaining in the world of philosophy of ideas. அது later. Especially contributed by Greek, Roman, medieval, scholastic, and not even pure scientists. Is it clear? And there is no history of Western philosophy. Is it clear? So philosophy originates, becomes philosophical, not by reflecting on itself what is pure idea. அது வாத்தியார் வேலை. ஏன்னா எனக்கு சம்பளம் கொடுக்குறான், நான் அப்படி பேசுவேன். The role of Heraclitus is something different. Is it clear? For example, Socrates would not agree with Plato, even though Plato was his disciple. And Socrates retained the tradition of remaining in the dialectics of tension, of a search. Is it clear? Carried along the spirit of questioning any centric claim. Is it clear? Be it death, be it state, Greek politics. And Socrates has to be what? Appointed as the vice chancellor of Plato's academy. What you should do with Socrates? What has been done with Socrates? Tell me, students. Poison him to death. அதான் நடக்கும். Is it clear? If you want to be philosophical, in the authentic sense of the term. இல்லைன்னா we'll be repeating generations of ideas. Is it clear? Probably what as Professor Clements was talking about death and resurrection. In order to resurrect, Father will say, you have to crucify Jesus Christ. Yeah. If you don't crucify Jesus Christ, can resurrection be ever possible, Father? Appa, you crucify any real idea. Is it clear? So, coming back to my discussion, that philosophy becomes philosophical, remains philosophical by being realistic in the non-philosophical world. But then later, when Greek, by their militancy, and Spartan is part of Greek word, Greek map in the early centuries. Sparta, is it clear? Ionia was the periphery, is it clear? And Hellenism is Greek word. Hellenistic thinking is Greek thinking. So Hellenism and Spartas are militantly powerful when they occupied by way of coloniality, military. I think there are a lot of stories on that, films on this kind of way, how they went and colonized the non-Greek world. And the non-Greek world gradually brought it to the center and they started imitating the language of the center. That is what is happening in the caste world. Is it clear? We don't belong to caste, but caste owns us in some way or other. Is it clear? You are brought into the center and you imitate what the center says. This is correct, this is good, this is not good. This is not tactic of philosophy. I mean political philosophy. Political philosophy is not a set of doctrines. Is it clear? Now I'll come back to my Greek story and then slowly come back to the later understanding of philosophies. So the Greek, when it establishes as state, republic in Plato, is it clear? The whole dialogue, is it clear, is a kind of a pronouncement, legitimization of the Greek supremacy, of the Greek civil society, and a justification of Greek colonialism. Is it clear? Now you know which idea is superior? Philosopher is a king. சும்மா அல்ல கிங் கிடையாது நீ. அவனை அடுத்தவன் அடிச்சுட்டு தான் நீ கிங்கா மாறுங்க. Your philosophy was resurrected by the death of the other. And there always an enemy to be articulated, associated, assimilated, centralized, focused, umbralized, flattened, monopolized, homogenized, and we call it truth. You call it what? Epistemology of truth. Now, this is the kind of a historical, contextual background with which I would like to look at philosophy. As a student, as a teacher of philosophy, I go along with Russell. Is it clear? I go along with William James. I go along with the history of philosophy. At the same time, there is an important contextual communication of philosophy. And when the Greek upheld the periphery world, started speaking metaphysics. Earlier it was what? A reflection about tanniya, water, number, fire, energy, atom. Slowly idea went down. Is it clear? You should speak the ruling language of the center. But you get more projects, please do that. Right? So center and there is a periphery. Between the center and the periphery, there remains always a relations of both opposition and assimilation. Either we are assimilated to the center or we retaining our position. Is it clear? Heraclitus retained, at the same time progressively assimilated into the Platonic doctrines, where you move from doxa to episteme. Doxa is a knowledge of the physical world. It's opinion. Science is opinion in Plato. Pure philosophy is what? Episteme. Episteme means pure knowledge, idea, world of forms. Any opinion about the world belongs to the world of opinion. It belongs to the world of lux. Lux terima. Soap. Aishwarya advertisement, lux. Soap irukilla. Lux Greek word. That's bodily brightness. Bodily brightness. எவ்வளவு தூரம் சோப்பு அதிகமா போடுறியோ body becomes what? Bright and brighter. அது பேர் லக்ஸ். யூ ஆர் என்கேஜிங் வித் த பாடி, த ஸ்கின். பொம்பளை பிள்ளைங்க அந்த வேலையை நிறைய பண்ணும். Is it clear? They buy lot of commerce is spent on that for what? The realm of lux. Is it clear? Now Plato speaks about the realm of lume. நான் Clement the Lume அங்க இருந்தா வரும். Is it clear? Lume. Lume is what? Pure light. The light of the light. Face to face in the heaven. Ana Christianity வார்த்தை. Heaven. Is it clear? Pure light. இந்த லைட்டை பார்க்குறாங்க, இது காப்பி லைட். Is it clear? Pure light. This light reflects your face. I am seeing you. If it doesn't reflect you, I cannot see you. அதுதான் Plato. Pure episteme. So you need to move from lux to lume, from doxa to pure episteme. Now you have constructed a philosophy which you call pure philosophy, which I call politics of philosophy. Is it clear? A centric philosophy as against versus a world of periphery. So, politically speaking, there is a colonized world, a colonial world view. So, mother philosophy world view கிடையாது, colonial world view. I am talking of a different philosophy now. Is it clear? Maybe your professors will teach you pure philosophy. Don't take me very seriously. Is it clear? So it is a kind of a colonial world. The center all the time is ready with all the tactics to accommodate, assimilate the periphery in order that the periphery remains enslaved. The periphery remains enslaved. And ideologically you are converted into that kind of ideology. Is it like the periphery remains enslaved, servantized? Do you know Aristotle justifies slavery? Do you know Aristotle justifies slavery? Yes. We speak of Aristotle becoming in ethics. Aristotle categories, logical categories, எல்லாம் கரெக்ட் தான். And the all is justifies what? So if he is open to the ethics, why the hell he justifies slavery? It's okay. Aristotle is a realist, student of philosophy, Plato's philosophy. So philosophy is a way of engaging philosophy seriously. If you want to be philosophical. You want to be a professor of philosophy, don't engage seriously. Memorize it. Is it clear? I'll do some politics. But if you want to do philosophy, engage it. Engage it substantially, bodily engage it. And philosophy tells you, yes, there is something that I need to understand. And my understanding must be justified in the correctness of my claim. So the second layer of center and periphery, the medieval philosophy. Is it clear? Classically, the Platonic. And the medieval philosophical whole disposition, not only orientation, whole disposition is to bring in the Christian practice. Christianity started as a periphery religion, ended as an institutional religion. So there is a periphery and center within an system. Christianity by its practice, I think Professor Clement made a reference to Paul. That was practical religion, right? Communes, religion of commune. But then, by progressively legitimized itself, and legitimization is not from either self-legitimization. What is self-legitimization? When I started, you read a lot of biodata, no? And that's self-legitimization. Is it clear? And that is needed in the politics of so-called knowledge. Is it clear? And the medieval scholastic thinking, say Thomas Aquinas, Anselm, Augustine, basically Bonaventure, there are medieval fathers. And many of their contributions started from the periphery, but fortunately or unfortunately moved towards the centrality of its claim by marrying Greek philosophy with the Christian practice. I put it in one single word. The Christian practices of coming together, sharing, communion, opposition to the patriarchy politics which Jesus was talking about. Is it clear? Now slowly legitimized, sanctifies, institutionalized, became a religare. Religare not now. That which binds you institutionally. I want to end of freedom. Religare means what? கையை விட்டாதான் freedom. இப்படியே பிடிச்சி டாமியா நல்லொலி என்ன ஃப்ரீ நான் போவேன். So when Christianity became politically institutionalized, I think the whole history of Christian religion is it clear? Empire, political rule, Constantinople, and this year Christian religion, Christianity celebrates 1700th year of the Nicene Creed, right? Is it clear? Now they are rethinking the whole creed, canonized. So there is a history of philosophy, not simply ideas. Philosophy has its history. Is it clear? And a student of philosophy must also go beyond philosophy in order to be philosophical. Otherwise, we will also get into the centrality of knowledge claim and think that that knowledge claim is true claim. Is it clear? So the Christian medieval thought reclaimed the Greek and the Roman Empire. Politics and religion became married. Who was the marrying point? Again, philosophy. Our idea of resurrection, our idea of soul, our idea of materiality of the material, our idea of immateriality of the world, sin, holiness, pavam, punyam, bhumi, bhulogam, other world, salvation, all that kind of fabrication at the same time unification. Is it clear? Is moving towards the centrality of a politics of knowledge. Is it clear? So that's the second realm. However, you go into the detail. That's all the idea. For Plato, absolute knowledge is absolute. Medieval thought, God is absolute, and understanding and the knowledge of God is absolute. வார்த்தை ஒன்றுதான், விஷயம் வேற. Politics ஆனா ஒன்றுதான். They remain always the periphery world as well as the non-periphery world. The physical world, metaphysical world, இப்போ இன்னொரு உலகம், from Greek thought towards medieval thought, ontological world. Metaphysics is a reflection about reality. When you say what is science, what is not science, how science is ought to be, what are the canons of science, you are metaphysical. When you talk about being as such, you are moving to a kind of an ontological, deductive orientation, ontological sense of. Is it clear? Now, philosophy takes another shift, and especially from the times of Plato, Aristotle, and epitomized, culminate in the time of medievalism in terms of ontology. In terms of ontology, Aristotle metaphysics of categories of understanding again moves to the category of understanding within the ontology of the medieval thought pattern. Is it clear? So in other words, for me, one thesis that I share with you is that there have always been a sense of relation between the world of periphery, the normal world, and the dominant world, the centrality, the ruling centrality, and between the centrality and the periphery, there is always a relation. And that relation is either assimilative relation or oppositional relation or submissive relation, or is a kind of, let us contest it, a discourse relation, I put that way. That's why Foucault talks about power and knowledge. For Foucault, the Western philosophical tradition is a discourse between power and knowledge. Is it clear? Who is saying what is knowledge and how knowledge produces power, or how power produces different segments of knowledge. So almost you come to today's world. So Eastern philosophy is not a history of ideas, the history of the world. It is born in the death of many, in the manipulation of the periphery world. Is it clear? Come to modern philosophy now. Now again, there was a claim that metaphysics, ontology is a matter of speculation. We call it Western ontology, Western metaphysics comes from the world of speculations about God, soul, etc., etc. Were there scientific discoveries? Is God a scientific discovery or a speculative theory? Probably speculative. Is it clear? So there is a speculative rationality is now stands against non-speculative rationality. Modernism is a non-speculative rationality. ரெண்டுமே ரீசன் தான், ஆனா வித்தியாசமான ரீசன். Pre-modernism what we call traditional medievalism, belongs to the realm of an epistemology of speculative reason, which I call it a theory of coherency. Is it clear? Whereas modern thought pattern, which you come here, science, you are coming almost there, scientific epistemology, which I said, epistemology of science, revolves around, constitutes itself within another reason, what we call practical reason. Is it clear? Both are reasons. Only early logical reason is the inductive reason. Okay, language. Traditional philosophy is deductive rationality. The modern thought, which we call empiricism, and Professor Vail made a reference with the positivistic thought. Is it clear? Later moving towards pragmatism and moving towards early Russell and early Wittgenstein is more of this practical reason. In other words, truth claim about scientific knowledge is now brought under the purview, the domain, the terrain of observation. Professor made that. Experimentation, explanation. If truth cannot be experimented, there was a reference positivistic. Is it clear? Now, philosophy now slowly what? Sits that science comes in. Medievalism has got too much of morality. Do this and do it, don't do it. They will start from the Exodus, 10 Commandments. And church fathers have the only business of preaching moral values. Is it clear? Even today. Canonize these moral values. But whether what is moral is really moral, that's a philosophical question. And what context that morality has been substituted. There is a kind of institutional morality belonging to a particular central tradition. And there is a kind of morality that doesn't belong to morality being institutionalized. Do you understand me? Caste is a centric, institutional, instrumental morality. Not being a caste is non-centric, peripheral, non-institutional, non-political ethics. Now there is a difference between morality and ethics. Ethics is a question of justice. Morality a question of do this and don't do this. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha, yedukku. I call it instrumental morality of a system, of a centric system, of a knowledge that is centralized as knowledge. When I was teaching philosophy, there was a long discussion about Purusharthas, right from ICPR. We had two important professors in that area. One professor, what's his name? He is orthodox, at the same time non-orthodox. What is it? His name? Purusharthas, theory of Purusharthas. And he is now, many people take a lot of research in Delhi, JNU and all of this professor. Basically the idea, the discussion we had many years in Indian philosophical is what is meant by Purusharthas, how Purusharthas are attributed to explored in various Indian philosophy explored. I was getting tired actually with this discussion. Though the discussion was illuminative, but it was disillusion for me. You know why? When you talk about duty, and duty is categorized in terms of differentiation, a differentiation of the human face, that duty of this particular category, duty of the other category, duty of another category, intrinsically, constitutively, you intimidate a sense of higher and lower, a sense of superior and inferior, a sense of ruler and the ruled. Is it clear? A sense of domination and people to be dominated. Which means morality is now centralized. And what is centralized is not ethical. It can be moral. You come to the hall by 8 o'clock. That is the rule. You come to the hall by 8 o'clock. You are a moral person. I will not say you are an ethical person. Maybe you are the scoundrel in the world. Is it clear? You may work in a bank, but you can be a robber in the bank. But you are a good systematic worker. Your efficiency is not ethics. Is it clear? Ethics moves beyond the realm of morality. Caste is instrumental morality. I cannot afford to preach caste anymore unless it gives me legitimacy why it is true. So when you start a question on science, you are raising a question on the legitimacy of scientific knowledge in association with, in marriage with, the legitimacy of moral knowledge. Or the claim that morality is moral because of these conditions. I believe something is true because of fulfilling certain conditions. And then a modern philosophy, basically the condition is what? Verifiability, testability, falsifiability, counts progress. Traditionality will not allow that. So there is all along been in the history of philosophy, if you would like to agree with me, that there has been two parties, a party of the center, parties of the periphery, which is associated with a history of colonizing, ideological colonization, pretexted by a military colonization, occupation of the territory. Once the territory is occupied, the centric idea is assimilated by the periphery world. Is it clear? When I start talking about Purusharthas, I will give a 3 hours lecture, but I am talking of the centric knowledge. Is it clear? Give me another space, Indra, I will come back and give you 3 hours of lecture on Purusharthas and aesthetics of Purusharthas. வெளியில கூட என்னையும் நான் திட்டிக்குவேன், ஏன்டா இப்படி பேசுறது? Is it clear? You understand me? So there is always been consistent discourse that is happening, reflectively speaking, from speculative to empirical reason, from speculative to practical reason. There has always been a centrality versus the world of periphery. The relation between the world of periphery, Heraclitus would say, a world of the sublimation. Read Heraclitus, the worker. Sublimation. And the political law, the natural law, it's the world of assimilation. The world of assimilating towards the center. Is it clear? If you're not able to assimilate it, they belong to the world of body. Impure, unholy, untouchable, unseeable, non-approachable, waste material. Is it clear? Waste material only be recycled. Is it clear? And the world of the non-center, periphery, in fact, informed philosophy. That's why I have my first thesis, philosophy nativates from the world of non-philosophy. But then, the second argument, it navigated progressively towards the center and constructed a knowledge in terms of political organization. I call it politics of knowledge. And it is geopolitical. It is geopolitical. Not only Roman, not only the medieval, it is quite geopolitical. Even Asian countries, now we are doing that politics of knowledge. Is it clear? Politically, I'm not talking about party politics, knowledge politics. Is it clear? The third important shift that you see, the realm of science to be scientific, again wanted to go back to philosophy. It cannot say its truth by its language. It says water is hydrogen oxygen combination. True enough? It needs certain metaphorical language, analogical language. And philosophy, you are fully with that analogic. Once you complete your philosophy, you are superb. Your literature is extremely good. You are in a world of words to speak the word. Is it clear? So, in the empirical science, modern period, last 3 centuries, there is always a relation between philosophy and science. Science needed philosophy in order to say, I am true. Let us put it other way. Scientific body of knowledge claims itself to be true with the philosophical theory which you call verifiability. Now you see? So science, philosophy, kalyanam pannittan. Eppo? 17th century. And the kalyanam vera mari thirtu kalyanam. Is it clear? Actually, science, it originated by not being religious, secular. Science and objectivity, value neutrality. Slowly, by the beginning of 20th, there was a kind of attempt to marry what? The Trindukalanatha. Started with pure science. Is it clear? That medievalism is bad. What Professor made about theocentrism is not comfortable. As ontological, not metaphysical. Is it clear? It talks about world, soul, which is not invisible. It doesn't talk about empirical world. And the science needed a language of philosophy. அப்ப உனக்கு லாஜிக்கல் பாஸ்வே என்னால் நல்லா சொல்லிக் கொடுக்க முடியும். Is it clear? So, Kalyanam between husband and wife. Who is the husband, who is the wife, I don't know. Is it clear? Philosophy and science comes together so close, and science needed an epistemological positioning, and philosophy is the realm to supply that epistemological line. The legitimate science depended upon philosophical world. And it claimed another legitimacy, not when you are objective, you are value free. What do you mean by value free? Value neutral. Value neutral means what? Everybody is equal. You are not bound by religion, language, culture, this, that, politics. Your thinking becomes what? Secular, rational, reasonable, practical. Every word outside there's a relation between the knower and the known. And again, ethically, morally, there's a dilemma between the seer and the seen. The scientist is a seer and the world is the seen world. Is it clear? There is a kind of a dichotomy that modernity has produced in philosophical discussion, that between the knower and the known. This dichotomy was already there. Is it clear? There is always a dichotomy in Plato, in Vedanta, in Shakya, in Nyaya, Nyayaka. Is it clear? Almost classical Indian philosophy are classical by the dichotomy. By Plato depriving the world, you are moving to the pure epistemology. Is it clear? But he claimed, by depriving the knowledge of the world, you claim what? The world of pure idea. From mortality to immortality, Vedic prayer. From death to what? Light. From darkness to what? Pure light. From mortality to what? Asatoma Satgamaya. Tamasoma? Na எப்ப ஜோதி கம்மி ஆவேன்? ரிட்டையர்ட் ஆயிட போறாங்க. ஆனா இந்த இருக்கிறவங்க சொல்லிட்டே இருப்பாங்க இந்த பிரேயரை. அவங்களுக்கே தெரியாது அவங்க எப்ப ஜோதி பண்ணுவாங்க. Is it clear? Now, ideologically speaking is one thing. I am talking from the context from which emerges. The center invites the darkness to be illuminated. When Descartes talked about human is rational, do you think he was thinking about you and me? S.Lourdnathan, human is rational. Illa. The modern human is rational, not the Asian human. You, me and me belong to the world of darkness to be colonized, to be rationalized, to be illuminated, to be educated, to be colonized, baptized, Christianized. In whatever language it is. And the same thing happens in our own country. Is it clear? So it is from darkness to the light, light inviting the darkness, in order that darkness is spot out. But the light and darkness are two sensibilities of the same reality. Leah. And then, what's his name? Sense and reference. Frege. Super, thank you. Frege comes now here. So-called analysis of Wittgenstein and analysis of language, where sense is sensible, not only with the scientific referentiality, an objective reference. Sense is sensible by multiple possibilities. Is it clear? And the language is constructed by sensibilities. And now science invites, anything is sensible only by the language of science becomes some way limited. Is it clear? So now the whole idea of development of understanding evolves into a different realm. The realm is in the late modern thinking, what we call from modern thinking had an epistemology that truth is true if you can scientifically represent it. Number one idea. Earlier idea, something is true if you can imitate it towards the center. So there is an epistemology of imitation. Mesmerized memory. Professor? Manana. And how do you attain the truth? By a mode of what? By a mode of what? Meditative repetition. If it is true, unless you meditatively repeat it, you don't question it. You don't analyze it. Verbatim. One of the important sources of Indian epistemology is Scripture. Have you ever asked the question, how Scripture is valid? What is the validity of the valid claim of the Scripture? That is philosophy question. What is the validity of a valid claims of a Scripture? rather than taking the totality of the scripture is what? Non-temporally valid. It's valid in all time, in all possible world. Newton வந்து அடிச்சிருவான் நம்மள. என்னடா பேசுறீங்க? நான் சென்சிபிளா பேசுறடா. Because there is a crowd, don't talk like that. Is it clear? So the third important discussion that happens in this discussion is when modern science married with philosophy, it married with the condition that anything that is not scientific, that is not sensible to my empirical world, nonsense in is now. Is it clear? What is a principle of verification? Anything that is not sensible to the sensible world is what? What about Professor also made about Hume's statement? Anything that is not sensible to the empirical world is what? Nonsense. Does not make any sense. If a பிரச்சனை என்னன்னா, the epistemology of science has to be again questioned in philosophy. Now there is a third element, that modernist epistemological claim of knowledge and what is called knowledge, what are the modes of knowledge, what are the limits of knowledge is again questioned by what they call the development in philosophical thinking, that objectivity claim has missed the subjectivity part of human experience. In other words, put it very sharply, the scientific 3 centuries world, by its epistemology, constructed an idea, the knower is the center, the known is the non-center. The knower is the center. And he is a tactical, calculative, measurable, explorable, experimental, verifiable, testable center. Whereas the non-center has to be tested. Now, can you calculate, measure the experience of discrimination, pain, in terms of certain parameters? When the mother delivers the child, how much of pain she undergoes and how much of joy she undergoes, is it very difficult to calculatively objectify it? Is it clear? And that is what we call another epistemology that has evolved in the beginning of the late 20th century, an epistemology based on experience. Earlier, an epistemology of imitation. I call it epistemology of imitation, non-representation, ideological accumulation. Second part of development in knowledge claim is that epistemology of representation. A statement is true if it represents the reality correctly. Is it clear? Water is water only when I sense it is water. When I cannot sense it is holy. I go to the Sunday to the church and Father sprinkles water. Is he sprinkling hydrogen oxygen or sprinkling holy water on my body? Soluma. When you go to Ganges and drink the water, are you drinking hydrogen oxygen or drinking holy water? Huh? Yeah. What is that sickness recently that spoiled our humanity? What the disease? What is that? COVID. Huh? You clap your hands, later laugh, COVID will go away. That is epistemological limitation. Regression, not representation of truth. Science என்ன சொல்லும், ஊசி போடு கோவிட் சரியாகும் சொல்லுவோம். Pseudo science என்ன சொல்லும், மூத்திரம் கொடு கோவிட் நல்லா போயிடும் சொல்லும். ரெண்டு ரெஃபரன்ஸ் ஆஃப் எபிஸ்டமாலஜி. ப்ரொஃபசர் விட்ட என்ன சொல்லுவார், ரெண்டும் சொல்லுவார். ஏன்னா அவர் பொசிஷன் ஆகும். Is it clear? So, mesmerized in a language, politics of knowledge. The third challenge that comes across, a challenge by the periphery world. Periphery world என்ன சொல்லுதுன்னா, you cannot count my experience. The African claimed, the African community, Afro-American community, in terms of its struggle against the racial issues, claimed a particular epistemology. That an epistemology of free from. What is free from? You cannot understand my racial, I being dominated, and the experience of my slavery. My subjective experience is the standpoint epistemology. Feminists, any player? They talk about standpoint epistemology. In other words, we have moved from speculation, reason, speculative reason to practical reason. From practical reason, knowledge claim is moving towards a claim of experiences. And within that broader spectrum of experience as the ground of knowledge, is it clear? That experience is no more what you call experience of some soul going to attainment moksha. Not personal liberation. This liberation is a problematic word in our country. When I sit in my philosophy class, my professor taught me liberation as karma yoga, moksha yoga, inana yoga, solpa. Bhakti yoga, karma yoga, apro. அதுக்கு அடுத்தது அல்டிமேட்லி என்ன யோகா வரும்மா? யோகாலஸ் யோகா, heaven, liberation, விவேக முக்தி, அப்புறம் என்ன முக்தி? ஜீவன், எவ்வளவு கரெக்டா இருக்காங்க. ஜீவன் முக்தி and விவேக முக்தி. இது ஒரு லாங்குவேஜ் ஃப்ரேம். இந்த லாங்குவேஜ் ஃப்ரேமுக்குள்ள tremendous meaning இருக்கு. Okay, I'm not dismantling it. But can that language from address the subjective experience of suffering? Kashtam, yeah. If at all, if it addresses, it will address in the language of one karma. You will go through a cycle of karma and then try to come out of the karma. எப்படி வர முடியும்? When there is always a relation between assimilation and imitation by the centrality of the systemic claim, by its philosophy, politics, ideology, everything. Is it clear? And how do you come out of that liberation? So the African experience, the subjugated women throughout human race, second sex learned. Is it clear? Samantha Bowyer. And the experience of Filipino, the experience of the racial discriminated sections, the experience of the vulnerable laborers have been brought into the center. When Karl Marx demanded a classlessness and an anti-exploitative agency, and it's a demand for another kind of epistemology. When Ambedkar demands annihilation of caste, it's a demand for another set of epistemology. It's not a demand for epistemology of imitation. It is not only a demand for pure representation, it is important, other than democracy. But it is also very seriously a demand for epistemic validity of intersubjective experience. Not subjective experience to be isolated, individualized. Mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. Is it clear? Rather, it is a collectivity of coming together, of openness. Is it clear? In terms of sensibility of the face of the other. And my sensibility and your sensibility come together in the form of a discourse. சும்மா கான்வர்சேஷன் இல்லை, மாலை போடுறது இல்லை, சும்மா டயலாக் இல்லை. அது இன்டர்லிஜியஸ் டயலாக் ஃபாதர் சொல்லுவார். இங்க கேட்கறது intellectual, is it clear? Beyond transdisciplinary understanding of a subjectivity of intersubjective. Probably today, the late 20th or the this of 21st century, philosophical reflection, I will not use the word progress, moved away from the regressive possibility as evolves out of embracing the multiplicity of truth claims. Multiplicity of, there is no centrality of truth claim as this is the truth. Is it clear? Subjective experience, subjective voices of many, there are many narratives. Probably I'm referring to Lyotard. Now Lyotard talks about the postmodern condition of scientific knowledge. The postmodern condition of knowledge. Almost it has become the gospel of the late modern society. And his reflections in some way is philosophical, at the same time is critical about the way philosophy has emerged. The centrality of objectivity of truth is questioned on the basis it limits the possibility of understanding legitimacy of your subjective experience of being a woman, of being a Dalit, of being an unchristian in the Christian world. Is it clear? Of being in the lowest in the hierarchy of patriarchy. Adu pannina you are doing philosophy. And today if you do philosophy in that realm, again this realm is not ideational realm. This realm is not Platonic realm. This realm is not Shankara realm. அதெல்லாம் ஓகே வச்சுங்க, பாலிடிக்ஸ் வச்சுங்க, ப்ராக்டிஸ் வச்சுங்க. ஆனால் philosophy-க்குள்ள வந்தீங்கன்னா this realm is a realm of what we call intersubjectivity of truth claims, which is open towards the other, not by my centrality of my truth claim, but openness towards the other from her narrative, from her story, from her phenomenological experience. From her phenomenological experience. I think almost, let me come down to this, my conclusion. Starting from the speculative reason, philosophy moved towards what I call assimilating the other into the centrality of knowledge, constructed a particular politics of knowledge. A politics of knowledge is something between the center and the periphery, and the relation is categorical opposite, polar of opposite by Aristotle, I am referring. The relation is understood in terms of assimilation or separation. And this relation is understood in terms of the differentia between the center and the periphery. And periphery is induce an idea that it will always move towards the center, and the center claims that it is the truth claim. Is it clear? And the relation between this always remains highly what? Not synchronized, assimilative possibility, which I call coherence epistemology. Rendavadu epistemology is the scientific epistemology. Knowledge is true only when it is testable. I can read this paper when I have a kannadi. Right? Professor, can you read this paper? Even if he has kannadi, he cannot read unless I go and close it. I cannot read this paper with divine eyes. கடவுள் பார்வையில் இந்த பேப்பரை படிக்க முடியுமா? You need some empirism, testability, right? So ஒரு sense of knowledge claim இருந்து we have shifted to another sense of knowledge claim. Again difficult because it left over the subjectivity, the experiential possibility of little narratives, that is the word, little narratives of the legitimacy of truth claims of multiplicity. Therefore, I think probably philosophy is evolving towards better understanding in its epistemological journey. I'm not talking against philosophy. I love philosophy. At the same time, you love philosophy because the way it takes you along to understand how our understanding has been historically conditioned by different epochs. And each epoch, I'm talking about Foucault now, each epoch has its own epistemological terrain. And you need to shift from one understanding towards another understanding because our understanding of the world, our understanding of understanding, broad-based. I cannot simply hold on, this is the best right understanding, always. A sense of openness, sense of embracing the other, not because you are a big person, you embrace me. Yeah, அப்படிலாம் தேவையில்லை. Is it clear? Just because we are both persons, we are each other. Anger, justice வருது. Now science, not that art question. I'm not talking about artness. I come back to what Professor Nehru referred. Kant. Read the word Kant, metaphysical grounds of morality. Some argument. You should read it. Love that. Is it clear? Hold on to that. And don't tell me I'm preaching Kant. Hold on to how the way he claims it. Your other classical work on reason. This is more, it comes from the part of my feeling. And he brings reason to the sense of feeling. Hume will say goodness belongs to the realm of emotion, intuition. Therefore, it doesn't belong to the fork between what I call analytic truth and synthetic empirical possibility. But then goodness, there is a root emotion side. But then when this idea of experience, a shared understanding, then understanding is informed understanding. A shared understanding becomes what? It is not voted, and then whoever the central person claims is the better India. I should also say, from my experience, India is brightening. So probably as my conclusion, I would say this, probably the science gets into ethics on a particular ground of being not good with the ground of being not good with whatever is claimed to be good. Whatever is historically colonized to be good. As a question பண்ணும்போது justice emerges. So probably today, whether you are science or non-science, both human science, social sciences, humanities, and people belonging to different religious cultures, we are coming to a common ground of shared understanding. No more segmentation of knowledge. We are almost coming to that ground of shared understanding, collectivity of understanding. Is it clear? Collectivity of learning, where power is not assimilated, owned by an hierarchy of a group of people. Is it clear? But culturally you are trained for it. You can't avoid it. You even if you are highly educated, you need to be institutionalized. But then today, almost I think the world is moving towards this sense of plurality, and justice must be shared in the goodness of each other. In the goodness of each other. So science is scientific in the sense of being just claims, being just. Even though there is a very strong warning, knowledge is reduced to information. You know that wisdom, information, reduced to knowledge in modern period. In the late modern period, it becomes to information, database, and information being owned and disowned. And even this world, we have those owners of information are what we call the center. Is it clear? And the non-owners becomes our what? A periphery. And this is, I think, comfortably holds good. The center versus periphery in terms of assimilation towards the center by imitation. Even by voting. Believe it. The color, the best color. The color. Centralizing your mind, colonizing the mind, remains almost an historical practice. It is not praxis. Now I come back to my introduction. Proximity means the nearness of the other. Proximity means what? I'm not talking about big classless society. At least the nearness of the other. And the Kurandai is in the nearness of the other, in the nurture of the mother. Otherwise, that Kurandai cannot grow. Is it clear? As grown up person, as educated person, as people who are going to be very professional, be nearness towards the experience of everybody. And that is where the ethics of, I'm not talking big claim equality, rationality, the ethics of the goodness of justice is a possibility. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much. Any questions?
It's open to all for questions. If there is any question, can ask.
Question. Mic here. Tell me.
Thanks, Professor. I'm Ragesh. I actually would like to ask about the notion of epistemology today in science. One of the way we understand today the science and value, which is emerged quite recently, is to ask the question of value within the epistemological practice of science itself. Now, ideologically, we know that whenever there is a knowledge production which happens, there is a context out of which that knowledge is being produced. Okay, but science has been saying that its very epistemological practice precisely is free from value itself, right? So how do we can challenge or can bring the debate of epistemic and non-epistemic contention within the scientific knowledge production? Now today we understand not science as a knowledge, but science as a practice. So in that context, what your opinion?
That's a very important question, and you should answer me for your question. Very, very insightful question. Thank you. Any other questions? Very serious question.
Anyone ask a question? Katwa? Jay. They will ask later, I think. They will ask, I think, later, sir. Ask.
Thank you for seriously following the whole discussion, and you are exactly hitting a very important dimension. His question is, what's your name?
Ragesh.
Rakesh. Rakesh's question is, if science is legitimized, or at least as an understanding that science is, by value, it is value neutral, which means it's unethical. Let's not use the word unethical, it is non-ethical. Okay? If science, by its nature, by its procedure, Professor Davis said explain end of experiment, by its procedure, by its methodology, is value free, which is not attached to any value, but it has a value of being objectivity. Is it clear? Another question is, being value free or value neutral, how we can address values? That's a basic foundation question. That's how I understand Rakesh. By science being value neutral, how we can address the realm of ethics? The realm of ethics. Probably the one way I don't have a paka answer. Is it clear? And there are a number of discussions which the professor also made in his reference. Is it clear? Probably one way of informing us, intersecting this question, what science missed by its claim of value neutrality. We are not telling water is not hydrogen, oxygen. You understand? We are not telling water is not hydrogen, oxygen. We are not telling science is unscience or non-science. We are telling the claim that science is the only truth and the best possible understanding of the world within its objective glass purview. It is one of the possibility of understanding the world. One of the hermeneutics of the world, and my human understanding the world, the way I interpret the world. I interpret it as a table. Is it clear? That's one possibility of it. And there are other multiple narratives science tries to manipulate and legitimize and iron it by objectifying everything. For example, the subjective experiences of slavery, of racial discrimination, of caste oppression, of political domination, of linguistic claims that only one language is true, other language, classical, other languages, the distinction between oral and written language. There are too much of politics that has been around the country, around the world, around humanity. Either pure science cannot address this. What do you call pure within inverted commas? So science, border it should break. Science should break its own frontiers of claiming what it is true by objectivity. It has to move towards understanding subjectivity, and then science is where physics, chemistry goes towards psychology, literature, sociology, politics, and ultimately experience of the world. So science is scientific not only by rejecting the old falsification theory. I think science is now becoming scientific by embracing newer possibilities. So we need to move from verification, falsification, paradigm shift towards the possibility of embracing inclusive of நிறைய narratives, நிறைய stories, நிறைய culturalities, நிறைய experiences. அதுக்கு we need only one possibility of science opens itself towards that. என்னன்னா institutional religion, politics of religion, and politics of knowledge allow பண்ணாது. Either it did not allow or it will assimilate you by its power relations. வேற வழி கிடையாது. ஒரு different independent struggle as a student of philosophy should do. That struggle, freedom struggle, is free from your cognitive categories of understanding. I think science broad bases itself. அது ஒரு அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்டிங்ல நிறைய அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்டிங் ஆகுது. Plurality of truth claim. அதில் value neutrality can never be what I call a value. அதுதான் a postmodern critique of enlightenment ethics in other language. The late modern has a critique of enlightenment morality, of its claim of classless, casteless, equality, pure reason, secular possibility, democracy. Ambedkar ஆனே செத்து போனான் எழுதி. Is it clear? எவ்வளோ struggle, even until date it continues. Again the center comes to dominate, assimilate, propagate, advertise, platonize, medievalize it. Is it clear? This struggle between the center and the periphery. எனக்கு Heraclitus சொன்னது ரொம்ப முக்கியமாக படிச்சு. That's why I started with Heraclitus. And the holy symbol வந்து fire தான்ப்பா. நெருப்ப வை. Fire assimilates. So, puts everything in plurality. என்ன அதுல ப்ராப்ளம்? சேம்னஸ் வரும். Is it clear? But then today, science is scientific not only by its verifiability, provability, testability, publicality. Is it clear? And today, consumerability becomes another part of pragmatic orientation. Is it clear? And science today is scientific by broad basing its phenomenological inquiry into the experience of the multiple possibilities. Is it clear? So we are not against science. In fact, we are becoming, our science is informed by better science, more sciences, not better science. And there's a danger. என்ன danger தெரியுமா? Since science is limited by its objectivity, என்னுடைய பழைய காலத்து subjectivity is very important ன்றது danger. You will go back to the early Vedic caste system ன்றது danger. You cannot go walk in the history. You have to walk from pre-traditional, pre-Socratic, ancient, classical, modern, and resist the colonial. The colonial of the mind first. Is it clear? And we are not telling science is bad. Science is good, in the sense that its goodness is conditioned by openness towards the other. Is it clear? Beautiful question. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm Bashir. I have my research in the field of philosophical hermeneutics, so it was very easy for me to relate to whatever kind of definition of truth that you are giving here, from redefining it from the sense of objectivity to what we call as the sense of truth as the shared understanding. And all this criticism of the science that you have made here, and it's very close to whatever is there in what we call as the hermeneutic truth or interpretive truth. So I have 3 questions which are all interrelated. The first one is about, when we conclude that what we call as the truth is the shared understanding, or it's also, when we call the truth as the objective, we can define it as always limited or restricted kind of, rather it's always open. But the very conventional understanding of the science that we have is always that practice of getting knowledge should be methodological, right? So that significance of method in science. So now, if we understand the truth as the shared understanding or as always open, so what could be the method, or what could be the significance of method? I'm not talking about what special method we ought to use, rather what could be the significance of method. I think the one answer we could have could be the communicative rationality, which Habermas is talking about. So I'm just thinking about what could be the method we could use in this practice of getting to what we call as the shared understanding as the truth. The second question is, shall I ask for me? Okay. And whatever I have is not exactly the question, I'm just thinking about. So the second thing is about, now if we conclude that what we call as the truth is the shared understanding, what about those what we call as the pure science, or for us again the conventional understanding is of the science is those who are from the field of natural science, and for them what we call as the social science or humanities, that we are not actually doing science. So is it practical that those who are coming from the natural science, are they ever going to accept this notion of truth, of redefining truth as open or shared understanding? And thirdly, I'm also very much, in a sense, fascinated with notion of truth as shared or open, like the acknowledgement of the multiplicity of the voices that we have as the truths. But then again, there is a limitation of the relativism. Okay, when we have, which is very quite popular criticism, I think. So what about this possibility of the low point of being relative when we redefine the truth as the what we call as the interpretive from very many ways, and we accept everything as the truth.
Anybody would like to answer? What's your name?
My name is Mubashir.
Mukesh.
Mubashir, Muhammad Mubashir.
Mukesh. Anybody would like to answer, Mukesh? Yeah, please.
You can call me Muhammad.
It's not an answer. It's not an answer, just
A response.
an opinion. It's a response.
He's raising a tough issue.
No,
Which doesn't have a mathematical answer.
So I'll take the same example as Professor S.Lourdnathan was saying. Water is H2O, combination of hydrogen and oxygen. And water is holy. Water is good. Three things. So each of those particular claims have been institutionalized. Yes. Now, when we are talking about truth, in this perspective, since we understand the multiplicity of truth, and because see again, I'm not talking in the generic terms of truth, how you define it. But since you understand how truth can be a shared understanding, so an institutionalized claim can be one set of shared understanding, and an institutional claim of natural scientists can be a shared understanding of water can be H2O. And for example, those is not an atheist and not belong to science can be one shared understanding of water is good. Okay. Now, since we can see all this perspective, see, you understand, the multiplicity is nothing but just saying that yes, there can be some, they can claim that because that was institutionalized. Now, in philosophy, as you mentioned, it was all about better understanding, not rejecting the claim in entirety, however the feeling. Yes. Now, coming to the second question, where you asked, how will the people who are claiming one institutional reality is the only reality, one institutional truth is the only truth, how can they understand? For example, if you go to the science people, giving the same example, water is H2O, will they say water is bad? Another set of truth, another multiple, will they deny that? They might not deny it. So the point is, the way we are growing with the science, the way the science is growing is completely, what do you call, not considering the other aspect or the multiplicity or the intersubjectivity. That is where we come in. Bringing in the intersubjectivity gives the concept of truth, and truth as a shared understanding is always, it's not a constant. It's always it's on a moving curve. So, for example, the moment you think of truth is not on a moving curve, you think that truth is static. You can never change it. So when you consider that as dynamic, then comes the multiplicity. So I think when you consider the truth as dynamic, then comes the multiplicity. I think when you ask the question, how will they know, they're considering truth as static. So I think this is how it answers your multiplicity.
And there is a very serious, you are comfortable. There is another serious issue he is raising.
I think your name is Ravi.
Mubashir.
Mukesh, you raise another serious issue. Please, I ask you also to address. He's asking about if you say understanding is shared understanding, it also amounts to another idea, if I understood your question correctly, relativism of possibility. And that relativism is too timid, you know what do you mean timid? It's too light. There's no strong sense of truth claim. And the relativism is, it becomes too much of particularism, right? How would you respond to that? Mukesh's question. Yes.
Thanks. I'll be responding to his question if I understood him correctly. One thing is that I would like to mention or emphasize is that, see, first of all, now we talk the scientific knowledge as centrality. One way of looking at it is debunking or criticizing the centrality, right? So our fear is that suppose we are attacking the centrality, centrality, then possibly we will reach a place of relativism. This is the issue he was asking. Okay, so my understanding is that, see, to address this question, first of all, we need to define the scope and limitation of science itself from the very beginning. Because when centrality comes into place, what it does is nothing but embracing all knowledge into its centrality. Now, even though we are doing social science, one of the way we are doing is nothing but imitating the centrality, which is science. So we need to clearly understand that this is science can do, and social science is something which is different. Or humanities, a research in humanities or that pursuit, something which actually science cannot embrace as it is. Probably in that sense we can make a distinction. Then the question of truth, actually we are not always embracing the truth of science or what pure science talks about. This is where the debate actually came to picture. Now you talked about the intersubjectivity and the sort of experience, how the experience, the notion of experience can be addressed. And if you are going with scientific method itself, then that is insufficient. Okay, so that cannot be possible to address these areas. That actually shows not that science is bad, but rather its scope is limited. Probably within the scope and limitation, we need to embrace science rather than making science as center. That's what my understanding.
Put it another way. To claim that testability alone is truth. So science prioritizes itself in terms of inclusive possibility of, not in a relative sense. Yes. Not in a relative sense. It's a more in the sense of a relativity sense. Okay. So though there is a strong criticism on the what you call bigger story, the larger narrative of science being objective, is it clear? And your criticism holds good in terms of relativism. I think what today people are trying to look at the whole knowledge issue is in terms of its relativity possibility. By relativity, it is not relativism. Yes. Is it clear? I will tell you a story. When Advaitin proposed the idea of the denial of the world, is it clear? What world it is? The world of Maya. It's a denial of a miscognition of the domain. Is it clear? I'm not a pure Advaitin, but my professor was an Advaitin, who was the founder of your school, of this department. Professor R. Balasubramanian. His photo you will see in one of your staff room. She was my professor. I used to have long discussion with you. Is it clear? And he was a Pakka Advaitin. Anything you talk in the world, you will centralize to Advaita. Is it clear? When I talk justice, you will again, afternoon lecture, you will bring it to Advaita. Other than centrality of a politics of knowledge. I want professor. Is it clear? So I became, he was my conscientized, some way conscientizer. Even to question the central politics of systems of knowledge. Is it clear? So it is not a question of naive relativism. It is not mere Syedvada and Syed Asti Nasti, Jaina kind of play of truth claims. You know, Jaina school of thought. I think one of your professor here, what was her name? Shanti. Shanta Kumari, my junior 1 year. Is it clear? She was good in Indian epistemology. Is it clear? And she will not come out of the centrality of the so-called Vedantic, very difficult, tough to break that thing. But she was a scholar in Indian epistemology, very good scholar. She was my colleague for a few years. Is it clear? My colleague and we are students together. But what we are talking, how much the science opens up itself. Not that it is a Pope opening the doors of the Catholic Church. And the Kadailla. Is it clear? It's not some center opening itself. Come. It opens itself in the openness of the other. Otherwise, we understand in the kind of another type of revelation. Revelation. If you use another language. Is it clear? clear? I can listen. I am not that I am a listener. The listening possibility is open. Is it clear? But it's not a relativism, but more I think we are confronting the idea of the relational possibilities, not mere, what do you put it, naive maybeism. It's not naive maybeism. Jaina school on the relativism, Leah. Am I right? Relativism, the theory of epistemology? Syadvada. Maybe and may not be. That's very maybeism. I think going beyond, let the elephant speak, da. Sorry. You 6 fellows are talking, the elephant is what? This, that. Yeah, language, Tamil, English. And 6 of Darshanas talk about what, father? Elephant is what? 6 knowing ways of knowing. There are 6 blind men. Kapila has a very strong critic internally. Yeah, mind, bad mind. And Kapila comes from that school of Shankya. And Jaina has this reflection. Is it clear? 6 blind men, probably it represents what? 6 orthodox schools. And your way of perceiving or different ways of perceiving, okay man, no problem. Relatives of truth. But in what you are telling, let the elephant speak. When it speaks, you know how dangerous, how powerful it is. நீயே பேசிட்டு இருக்காரு. Is it clear? நீ தடவி elephant beggar ஆக்காது. And don't worship elephant because it's an elephant. Let it be natural. The world of naturality come together. Is it clear? I am not either divinizing or pure science objectifying of the modern world. That's why people, I think probably they are proposing, they are articulating this idea of the way you said, intersubjective experiential possibility of understanding, where there is no distinction between the owner is a privilege. Is it clear? Where there is no distinction, the knower is a privilege. Is it clear? And the owned or the known is the underprivileged. So it is a kind of a discourse for a privilegeless power relations. So in that probably it is more of an idea of relational possibility, not relative possibility. And it will take time, my boss. It will take years. Centuries have passed. We have constructed this is the correctness of truth. And it will take another many centuries to say that correction of truth is what I call mutual understanding of our own limitations. Rather than claiming that what I say is true. And science has broad-based itself. Indian philosophy has to broad-base a lot. புரியுதா? இன்னும் நம்ம பழைய கதையை சொல்லிட்டு இருக்கோம். ஒரு புது கதையை சொல்ல போனா நமக்கு ராமாயணம் பகவத்கீதை அவசியம் தேவை. அது இல்லாம we cannot speak. அது ஒரு hermeneutics. But that hermeneutics should understand that hermeneutics has its own horizon. And by horizon there is a limitation. And that horizon also, you understand, you are talking about hermeneutic. And horizon is horizon of multiple horizons. And in your interpretation or hermeneutic, there is an idea of hermeneutics of what? Suspicion. Am I right? Suspicion. And suspicion, not because you want to criticize. In order that certain claims can be suspended. An interpretative possibility is open, but certain politics of interpretation needs to be suspicious and suspended. Not necessarily what I call, I'm against that. But it is insufficient to address the subjectivity and very broadly speaking, the subjective experience of the people. Is it clear? That doesn't mean every claim is a true claim. Within inverted commas. எனக்கு அந்த analogy ரொம்ப பிடிக்கும். You know that analogy of 6 blind men tadivifying the elephant. And each one claiming their claim is what? Epistemologically valid. Hey, ask one question. Let the elephant speak its experience. உனக்கு காது இருந்தா கேளு. If you can see that eyes, don't see the eyes only through you from your eyes. Let the reality speak. And conditions for the ground of reality probably is the way of being humane in the natural world. Otherwise, we will continue this distinction between nature, culture, is it clear? Anthropology, difference between the andro, race, caste, archy, hierarchy, lowerarchy, patriarchy, matriarchy. Why not we rethink our own thinking? In order that our thinking embraces the otherness of the other. Is it clear? And you don't have exactly how I put it, a model. Putting for a model itself is an epistemic issue. Because that model becomes the centric claim. Is it clear? I think a kind of openness. Probably that's why I use my own word, that shared understanding, probably others. And you said about communicative rationality. Possibility is open. And I think you should, as students now, I like some of your questions, the way you respond. Hermeneutics of understanding and the politics of understanding from a central periphery point of view, and also the claim of the peripheries that it has to understand its main experience. For example, the discriminated communities, be it women or caste, the tribal, is it clear? And the genuinity of that claim, without doing any politics that it should be what you call reserved only to the center. And the politicians on the value patron, leave it. You are students of philosophy. Is it clear? Hermeneutics of understanding from a particular category of understanding is different from hermeneutics of suspicion. And suspicion follows an hermeneutic of suspension. The possibility of openness of hope. Maybe you can use a nice word, a hermeneutics of hope, in the plural relational possibility of understanding the world. And that becomes more philosophical. You become philosophical. இல்லனா சும்மா பழைய கதையை டெஸ்ட்ல எழுதி 100 மார்க் வாங்கிட்டு இருப்பேன். I will be a bad teacher for you. Is it clear? Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We are deeply privileged to have you with us and look forward to your enlightening words. The epistemology of science can really legitimate value or not. It must be shifting our thinking, and it's the main challenge of philosophy. And it started from the epistemology of imitation, then it gone through the epistemology of representation, and then ended with intersubjectivity of truthness. Thank you so much. Next, I am inviting Father Dr. N. Jones, the coordinator and head of the Asian Christian Studies, to give the thanks.
So good afternoon, Professor. So I am in a position to follow the principle of precision and brevity because we are all hungry. To begin with, when I listened to talk delivered by Professor S.Lourdnathan along with you, I was just reminded of those 3 lines written by Robert Frost, the American poet. These are the 3 lines. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. That has made all the difference. Respected Professor, when we listened to your lecture, it was not only meeting, it was inspiring because it breathed into us a new spirit. How to look at philosophy, how to look at science, while philosophy emerged in the periphery of the real world. Therefore, I conclude stating that you took the road less traveled by, and you also made us to travel with you along the road that was less traveled by. And therefore, you made the difference today, and you will make us to think different today. Please accept our appreciation and thanks for all that you did to us this day. Thank you, Professor. Secondly, I am reminded of another word, intellect, which is the key or which is the chief instrument to understand anything, particularly philosophy. Coming to the keynote address delivered by Dr. Velmurugan, the word intellect comes from the Latin word intus plus legere. That means to read inside. Respected professor, through your talk, you opened our intellect to read into the reality, into philosophy. Therefore, it would be a key talk and not a keynote lecture. So once again, in the name of all the participants, please accept our appreciation, because I stopped using the word thanks. Appreciation is more depth. So please accept our appreciation for what you did today. Thank you, Professor. And third, we remember in absentia three great minds: Professor Tharnikarasu, Professor Clement Lutz, and Professor Vasanthi. All of them, in their own turn, inspired us in the beginning of this day. Therefore, we place on record all that has been done through them and with their presence. With you, I thank all the three of them. And fourth, we also gratefully remember the effort and the efficiency of Professor Indra, the head of the Department of Philosophy, in organizing, in celebrating this World Day of Philosophy. Although she is not with us now, in your name, I thank her for all that she did to celebrate this day. And fifth, I gratefully remember the whole team who cooperated and operated with her so that this would become a great success. Thank you, team members. And finally, I appreciate the patience and your listening. Thank you one and all. Let's go for lunch.
So you have to take one position on this question and you have to substantiate that particular position. That's what you have to do. Is the topic clear? Is the knowledge objective or subjective? That means, no, this is for BA students. Is the knowledge free of subjectivity? That topic itself must almost close to that. If it becomes more philosophical.
Actually, in science, knowledge is actually understood as something which is really objective. Where we don't consider subjective as the thought. So who does it, that research doesn't matter. Whether you, me, anyone can. But there is an implicit problem is there. Knowledge is something which is objective. It can become centralized, as he tried to say. So that other sort of inquiry can be reduced, or other sort of inquiry such as social science humanities can be in a way like mimicking. Or it's not actually in academic discipline, social science humanities in general, they are actually trying to compete with or wanting to be like natural science. Why? Because scientific knowledge considered as something which is objective. So we are asking the fundamental question: is knowledge objective? Can knowledge be subjective?
Objective means free of subjectivity. Subjective experience that you have.
So in that sense, in the sense we are asking whether the natural science and technology, which is considered something subjective, are more than that. Okay. Then what is the status of other sort of quality, such as social science and humanities? So by bringing this social science and humanities relevant, you can actually discuss this question. If you are discussing this knowledge objective, you are in a way engaging with the scientific knowledge.
We could take one position from this.
You can actually defend the science that knowledge or you can be a bit sympathetic towards our social science humanities. That's up to you.
Can we mediate?
Anything you can do. What we look is that how you are substantial you are arguing. That's simple. Any position you can take. Your argument
answering the question. It's about writing the essay on this theme. It's a theme. No words.
Sir, we should have 1 minute.
Whatever. How good you are writing. It's not about how much you write. How good you are writing. No, whatever.
Just time limit, not word, no word limit.
But it is a minimum should be there, right?
No. You want minimum. Okay, so 350. Right? Okay.
450.
No, 350.
250.
So 350. Now for the PG people and for research also, but they will consider some together. So what is the title will be ethical responsibility of invention and application, of scientific invention and application. So I will explain the question, the theme first, then we will write the question. So there you go. That's the moral responsibility. So the question, you have to discuss this question in the context of, this is also very popular discussion. Okay? So is the scientist free of the consequences of his invention, his conduct invention? That means, for example, who is morally responsible for any consequences of the invention that the scientist made? Is the, for example, abuse, or any exploitation of the ethics, or for example, a biased decision that comes out of an AI use. So who is responsible for this? For example, we are using an AI supported software to review a bunch of applications for a job. So then that particular software will have some kind of biases. So who is, so in this, for example, now if we come to the field of agriculture or something. So what about using the pesticides? So who is responsible for the scientific invention and its practice? Is scientist free of the responsibility, or is it society, or is it users? Question. I will read the question. Does the moral responsibility for scientific invention rest with those who discover, those who decide, or those who benefit? No, those who, not those who decide, those who use or apply. Does the moral responsibility for scientific invention rest with those who discover, those who use or apply, or those who benefit? Who has the moral responsibility or ethical responsibility of scientific invention and application? This is the title. Who has the ethical responsibility of the scientific invention and application?
We have to take on stand.
Yeah?
Take on stand.
You put
Or missing or any sort of thing. Or missing.
You have to substantiate your claim in the essay. You don't have to claim this. You could take what you put present on claim on argument